Hello and welcome to the 741 channel. Thank you for stopping by. Today we're going to take a look at this electric pressure washer, model ePX3000, that Westinghouse sent me to review. So first up, let's get it out of the box, see what we've got, put it together, and try it out. First up, let's take an inventory of everything that came in the box. First up, we have the unit itself, of course, and we have the components that make up the wand. We have the bag with nozzles and some various clips and hardware in it. And we've got the pressure hose and 4 of these 360-degree swiveling caster assemblies. And last up, we have the manual, and there are a couple of O-rings in there as well. And one last thing, when I opened up the manual, I found this wire device in the manual, so I'm going to set this aside so I don't lose it. So the first step in the assembly process is to attach the caster assemblies to the bottom of the unit. And you can see these just slide into grooves in the body, and there's a locking tab here that locks into place. So one thing I'll mention before I move on to the next step is that these casters have a locking feature on them, which has come in handy for the assembly process so this thing doesn't roll off my bench here. So the next thing to do is install the hose holder on the right side of the unit. You can see that this just has a clip on the side that fits into this tab on the body of the unit. So I'm going to spin the unit around to the other side. I'm going to install the spray wand holder in this groove here that's about in the middle of the unit. And I'm going to orient this so that this smaller clip is facing the front of the unit. So staying with the left side of the unit, I'm going to install the lower spray wand holder on the bottom of the unit. You can see it just slides up into these grooves here. And I'm going to make sure that the smaller of the two circles faces the front of the machine. So next up, I'm going to install the spray hose to the front fitting of the unit. So the ends on this hose are both the same, so it doesn't matter which one you install in the unit. And I'm going to make sure that when I install this, it seats in there fully. So once I'm sure that's in and fully bottomed out, I'll tighten up the fitting. One thing to mention, you want to tighten this up by hand as much as you can get it, but you don't need to use pliers or anything like that. So next up, I'm going to install the other end of the hose onto the end of the spray wand. And just like I did on the unit itself, I'm going to seat this into the wand, make sure it's fully seated, and then tighten this up by hand. So next up, I'll install the spray tube onto the spray wand handle. And that just threads on like this. I'll tighten that up by hand. So the unit was supplied with 4 nozzles that you can choose from. The black one is for soap. The green one is a 25-degree spray pattern. The yellow one is a 15-degree spray pattern. And the red one is a 0-degree or pencil thin spray pattern. So I'm going to start off and use the yellow or 15-degree nozzle. And I'm going to put that on the end of the wand by simply pulling this collar down, putting that in place, and then releasing the collar. And then I can pull up on that to make sure that it's in there nice and tight. So I'm going to insert the 3 nozzles that I'm not going to currently use in these holes that are on the back of the unit. So there's rubber bushings in here that will grip onto these nozzles and hold them in place. Okay, so that's it for assembly. Let's take a closer look at this unit and what it has for features. So if you didn't notice already, I'll mention that this unit is fairly compact. It's about 17 inches or so high at the handle, maybe just a little over. The base of the casters down here is about 12 inches, again, maybe a little over, depending on which way the casters are pointing. The body of the unit itself is somewhere around 8.5 inches square, but some of these attachments make it a little bit wider. But overall, it's pretty small compared to other pressure washers I've used. Now, I don't know exactly how much this weighs, but it's pretty easy to lift up with one hand and carry it around if you need to. Okay, so on the front of the unit, we just have the main on-off control, and of course the connection for the spray hose. On this side, of course, we have the holder for the spray hose. Okay, so taking a look at the back, you can see that there is a holder for the AC line cord. And while we're taking a look at the cord, I'll mention that there is a GFCI breaker on the end of it for safety. And as I already mentioned, there's provisions for storing 4 nozzles on the back here. Down here is a tank so that you can put soap in the unit if you want. And just below the soap filler is an indicator window so you can see how much soap is in the unit. And then at the bottom is the water inlet connection for a standard garden hose. Okay, and then last up over here we have the wand holder. Right now you can see I've got it set up so it's locked into position. The smaller clip locks onto the wand tube. But if you were just using this quickly and you didn't want to worry about clipping it in, you could rest it in the larger hole while you were working on a project, or for storage, you can disconnect the wand and store it here, and then you could store the body of the wand in the larger diameter hole. And last but certainly not least, we have the casters, which are kind of set out to the side of the unit to give it a nice wide stance and low center of gravity. And like I said before, the casters have a lock on them if you need to keep the unit from rolling. So one of the main features of this unit, and one that I really like, is its low center of gravity and the wide stance of the caster. Now what I'll do is I'll unlock these so the unit will roll, and now I can just drag this thing along if I need to move it around while I'm working, and it's not going to tip over and shut off or anything like that. So of course this thing is going to roll great on a paved surface, but I've tried it around here in my sort of uneven grassy side yard, and it seems to work pretty well there too. I don't have any problem kind of towing it around where I need to. Okay, I think that covers most of the features. I'm going to get this thing hooked up to a garden hose and some electricity, and we'll try it out. Okay, so I've got the unit plugged in and I've got my water source hooked up to it. Now before I actually turn the unit on, what I like to do with these pressure washers is just squeeze the trigger and let the water come through it without being active, to try and just purge some of the air out of the system. So I've got all the air purged out of the system, so I'll turn the unit on now. So you can see what happens is the unit runs for a few seconds just to build up pressure, and now it's ready to use. One thing I forgot to mention before is that you can grab onto this knurled part here and change the angle of the spray while you're using the machine. Okay, so I'm not sure how well this is showing up, but this piece of trim has some staining and mildew on it up here, and I've cleaned this part down here with the pressure washer. And again, this is without any soap. It did a pretty good job and got pretty much all of it off. And here's a look at the kick plate. You can see that this is the side that I cleaned, and it did a pretty good job getting that mold off of there. So next up I'm going to try adding a little bit of siding wash to the soap tank here. And I'm just using some concentrated siding wash that I got at my local hardware store that I've diluted down to a 10-to-1 mixture. So before I apply the soap to the siding over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch out and go over to the soap nozzle. My siding is green, so it's not easy to see the green mold that's on here, but there is some kind of black discoloration on the trim, and especially on this gutter over here that we're going to focus on. So the soap's been soaking in there for about 5 minutes now. So we'll pop off the soap nozzle and go back to the 15-degree nozzle and see what we can do here. So hopefully you can see behind me here, this darker area is the side that I didn't soap or spray down. And this lighter side, of course, is the side that I soaped up and sprayed. I'm actually pretty impressed at how well this thing worked. It did a pretty nice job. Okay, so that's pretty much going to do it for the Westinghouse ePX3000 pressure washer. If you want to learn more about this pressure washer, there will be some links in the description below that will take you to the product pages. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with this little unit. I wasn't sure what to expect when I took it out of the box and saw how small it was, but it worked just as well, if not better, than some of the bigger electric pressure washers that I've used in the past. I especially like the small size because it's easy to carry around and won't take up much room when I put it away in the winter to store it. So one of the other things I really like about this unit is the low center of gravity and the 360-degree swiveling and locking casters. When I'm using this thing and I pull on the hose, rather than tipping over like a traditional electric pressure washer, this thing's going to follow me around, whether I'm on the driveway or on the grass. And if for some reason I don't want it to move, like right now, I have it on the table, I can lock the casters in place and it won't move. Again, if you want to learn more about this unit, there will be a link down in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to leave a comment or subscribe, feel free to do that as well. And if you'd like to support my channel in another way, please consider visiting my affiliate store links, which you'll find in the description below. Thanks for watching.